Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Okay, I wanted to go into this lesson. I was reading Proverbs chapter 4. I only read to the first 7 verses and instantly knew I had to do a video because just reading verse 7 in the AMP just made me, because in the KJV, I think it's read, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. And, we pretty much understand that, get an understanding of what what you've learned. But when you go into the AMP, it goes a little more in depth with the wording. And it says the beginning of wisdom is get wisdom, skillful and godly wisdom. For skillful and godly wisdom is the principal thing. And the word principal means the main thing or the first of importance. So getting the wisdom of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, like I say, skillful and godly wisdom. And I had thought about that. I'm like, dang, like the knowledge that we possess really is godly because it comes from the Heavenly Father. This is godly wisdom, on how to live and manage the earth. This is something no other nation has, and they won't possess, but we possess it, And when I say possess, I mean it's being put within us, because we're gonna force the other nations to keep our laws, statutes, and commandments, but they are never gonna be on the level that we are when it comes to knowledge. We're always gonna be above them in every aspect. So get skillful and godly wisdom. And it just made me think about when I first came into the truth and I started learning about the dietary law and how skillful and godly that is, because the dietary law is not only just to keep from being punished from Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, but it's also to preserve life. You live longer when you abide by the dietary law of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. You live longer. Your body operates and functions much better, especially for the old age, because when you think about it, a lot of times people start to get those different sicknesses in the body when they get older because of all the years of eating ungodly food. Well, I say ungodly, but abominable food, things that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai didn't ordain as clean. So then they start to feel the effects of it later. But a part of skillful and godly wisdom is always thinking about the future, or the long term. Being a visionary, as the elder of the GMS Mississippi camp I always say, Elder Zahar, being a visionary, always looking forward towards the future. And that's the mindset of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. They always look forward towards the future. Like Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai looked forward towards the future. Moses looked forward towards the future, which is why he gave up his lifestyle that he was living as an Egyptian to be a leader of the nation of Israel and oppose the Egyptian empire, because he looked forward to the promises that Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai had promised. Even though it was thousands of years later, when it's going to happen. Well, for that time, it was thousands of years later, but now we right here at the door, But still, he was a visionary. Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, visionaries. But I specifically said Jacob because he got the blessing, which it was already preordained for him anyways. So skillful and godly wisdom, for skillful and godly wisdom is the principal thing. So that makes me think like, okay, now I understand, what it's talking about. But then it says, and with all you have gotten, get understanding, discernment, comprehension, and interpretation. And I had looked up the word discernment. Discernment goes into the ability to make judgment or to be able to judge well, make good judgment. And then comprehension is to be able to understand what you're learning or be able to understand what you learned. And interpretation is to be able to explain the matter of something or being able to explain something that you've learned, which I get it again because I think it said, the action of explaining the meaning of something, explaining the meaning of something. So it made me think, okay, with the dietary law, Because I remember because I was in high school when I first started learning, in the 10th grade. But I remember when I was a senior, and I finally started trying to tell people about the Bible. You know how everybody does when you start you start learning, and you get enough knowledge to where you can start telling people and explaining to them. Well, I started to tell some of my classmates about the dietary law, and tell them that we're not supposed to eat pork and show it where it said it in the Bible. But then they came back with certain scriptures like, well, it said you can receive everything as long as you pray over it. Everything is good with Thanksgiving as long as you pray over it. I didn't really have no comeback for it. I didn't know how to combat that doctrine, or that saying that they had. But I knew that the dietary law was still right. I knew that eating, pork, because that's the main topic, wasn't right. At that time, I wasn't able to explain and break it down completely and then give all the reasons as to why. All I know is it's in the Bible. You're not supposed to do it, but as I became more seasoned and learned, and grew in this word, it registered with me, just from that account. And there's many other accounts, because as you learn and you become more seasoned, you have more people that come with different points that they've learned in this world that they've incorrectly been taught. And we have to break it down. So that's why I say discernment, being able to judge, which I guess I'll look up all three of them again. Discernment, the ability to judge well. And then it says perception in the absence of judgment with a view to obtaining spiritual guidance and understanding. So like I said, the ability to judge well. Then comprehension, the action of or capability of understanding something, to comprehend, So now I understand why, and I'm able to judge and give, this is a righteous judgment, this is a righteous thing to not eat, just using dietary law, for example, just to not eat certain foods that we thought was a delicacy or thought was okay in this world. And I understand why it's not good. And I'm able to explain it to others as to why it's not good. That's all a part of wisdom. That whole process is all a part of wisdom. So like I said, get skillful and godly wisdom, which is to know it for yourself, but then examine it, really dissect it, discernment. This is wise, that's discernment. This is a wise judgment, This is a wise thing that the Lord commanded us to do, or told us to stay away from and not do. It's wise. I understand why it's wise, and I'm able to explain. Okay, I'll use another example, because again, it's been on my spirit lately, these past, I probably can't even say weeks, but I know for sure within this past week and maybe two about the woman where the elders, they have been, and brothers always been telling and warning brothers to stay away from Keisha, which Keisha is a certain archetype of the so-called black woman, in which the mass majority of them are Keishas. But I understand why. Because it's not only that, because you got men in the world that say stay away from certain type of women. So you understand to stay away from certain type of women, but now we understand why, because we had that discernment to judge that, yeah, that's a wise thing to do, to stay away from this type of archetype of woman, Israelite woman, so-called black woman, because, well, it's a righteous thing. Why? Now I comprehend, I don't understand, because this is what they bring. They don't offer anything. They bring toxicity, toxic behavior. I can't even say the word. Toxic behavior and a toxic mindset, wickedness, so on and so forth, and bring chaos to your life. And then be able to, and then go into it and be able to interpret it, to explain something, explain as to what all it is that they actually do, go into detail and give examples. That's godly wisdom that the brothers have been given. You know, it's coming from your how about Shem Shah. That's really the Lord telling warning brothers, you know. That's all it is. It's the Lord through his men warning brother like, look, this archetype of women, you better stay away from that. You know, you deal with this. This is what you're gonna have you deal with her, this is what you're gonna have to deal with. And like the elder Elder Yasha Womba had made a video thing yesterday. He was like, brothers, you know, because he did a video, 2 of them actually, warning, you know, brothers about women and wives and different things like that. And, you know, he gave his godly wisdom on it. You know, he gave the wisdom that the Spirit of Yahweh Shem Abishai bestowed upon him on how to deal with certain women and, you know, certain situations and different stuff. But one particular thing he said was certain brothers like that toxic, you know, well, you break up, make up, all this different stuff like that. Or, you know, certain brothers, they'll deal with a woman that he was told about or warned about, and he'll deal with her anyway. And now he all in, you know, in the jam, in the situation with her, and telling brothers to pray against her. And he was like, now he gotta now he gotta get up and face the east at work with slacks on, sending up curses against her because you dealt with her. You know, it was funny the way he said it, but it's true. So the wisdom that Yahweh Shem Abishai has bestowed upon us is godly wisdom, and all these things that the brothers have been bringing out, this is directly from Yahweh Shem Abishai, warning brothers, especially warning us younger brothers, you know, to use wisdom, you know. But I just wanted to go into that. It's not a long lesson, just wanted to bring that out. Lord Widows edifying. Want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children out there keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.